the Strictly Broken TCG sponsored players all said that wearing this cute looking penguin at Worlds was super embarrassing because he didn't look menacing at all. But you know, what's wrong with wearing something super cute? It's just, I don't get it. Like, wearing something super cute and telling your opponent they're shit at the game. That's just hilarious to me. Hey everyone, it's Yue from the Strictly Broken YouTube channel, and we're doing another educational video on a simple and easy trick to improve your Cardfight Vanguard win rate. I probably butchered the name of the series that we're doing, but I actually cannot remember the name every single time I make these videos. So today we're talking about damage denying, and you'll hear damage denying all the time in these pompous Vanguard player videos where they're like, yo man, I just topped my regional and you know, you have to damage deny in these matchups, blah, blah, blah. So you hear damage deny a lot. And I maybe there are videos that, you know, carefully explain damage denying properly, but this video is intended to be just like a simple, you know, educational video to explain what damage denying is, what is it for, and then I'll give you 3 primary ways you can damage deny in the early game. So what is damage denying? Damage denying is not giving your opponent damage, and it applies specifically mostly to the early game, sometimes even in the mid game. You know, why do we do this damage denying stuff? It's because, you know, Counterblast, available open Counterblast, is a powerful resource in Vanguard. Cards can do powerful stuff with that Counterblast. And sometimes, just with one Counterblast, a deck is able to do way more crazy explosive stuff. So you're talking about superior riding, multi-attacking, getting to stride for before your opponent gets to stride. And a lot of decks use Counterblast to do these kind of things. I'm talking about, you know, Bermuda with their superior ride. I'm talking about, you know, Spearex with their superior striding. I'm talking about, you know, Pale Moon and all the multi-attack and draws and stuff that they can do with one open Counterblast. I'm talking about even like OTT getting to do their stride, multi-attack, 6 crit, attack twice kind of turns. These turns all require Counterblast to pull off. And so we damage deny because not giving your opponent the damage can save you on a ton of potential cards to guard with, because they no longer can do as an explosive of a turn, or they cannot draw as many cards. Now that we know what Counterblast denying is and why we do it, here are 3 ways that you can do some Counterblast denying in the early game to play around these like broken Counterblast reliance strategies. So first one, to deny Counterblast. Easy one is to just not attack. You know, you cannot do this if your opponent has like a Hoem on the field, but so keep that in mind. But not attacking is oftentimes the only way you can Counterblast deny. If your opponent is really, really good at the game, they're not going to leave you any rear guards. They're going to play some tiny Vanguards as well. And so you just have to give up that one card, that one drive check, that +1, and not attack to deny Counterblast. Very, very counterintuitive for people. In card games, everyone likes large hands. Everyone wants large hand sizes. But the thing is, when you should be giving up that card that you're drive checking every time if that's going to conserve you multiple cards on a Counterblast reliance strategy. For example, let's say a Counterblast reliance strategy like Spearex, they do a Spearex play. And just from them doing the Spearex play, they can now rip 3, 4, 5 cards out of your hand because you now have to guard multiple times or guard bigger swings. Had you just not taken that drive check and not given them the damage, you would be losing 1 card from not drive checking, and that in turn saves you on 4 or 5 cards that you would have lost had you given them the damage to do their Spearex combo or their Bermuda Triangle superior ride. So that's why you don't attack, and it's okay to give up that 1 drive check to damage deny. Way number 2 to damage deny, these all you can drive check, and one way is to swing under your opponent's Vanguard. Your opponent rides an 8K and you ride a 7K. You can now attack that Vanguard, unboost it, less power, drive check, and swing under. Now, this strategy is risky because imagine if you hit a crit there or hit any kind of trigger. You now give them damage. And so to mitigate that kind of risk, you just plop down a rear guard. So now you can swing, keep in mind, swing unboosted. You don't want to, you plop down a rear guard, maybe you intuitively want to boost, but you don't boost, you just swing. And then even if you hit a crit, you can just put it onto that rear guard, and now you don't hit no matter what. There's no way a trigger is going to allow you to hit unless your deck plays fronts. But you know, fronts and premium, super not meta. They rarely come up. No one uses fronts and premium basically. So you're basically committing a card to the field, though it can be used as guard. So it's kind of similar to example 1 because that card could have been used as guard, But if that rear guard is going to come up later, it's just like committing it a bit earlier. It's actually perfectly fine to basically stop yourself from dealing your opponent damage and guaranteeing that even if you hit a crit, that your opponent is not taking damage, because you can just stack all the trigger effects onto that rear guard. But swing under is a great way. A lot of times people will play 6K units just to swing under 7K units, because sometimes your opponent doesn't ride 8Ks. There are a bunch of powerful 7K grade 1 cards that people still play in premium. So just playing some kind of 6K like a Honolulu or like the PGs, they're usually 6K, is a great way to swing under and not give opponent damage. Third way you can damage deny is to attack into opponent's rear guards. This is probably the easiest way, and one of the better ways to do if your opponent is trying to rush you a little bit. You can start attacking their rear guards. They don't get damage, and you're clearing off their pieces. So this one's pretty obvious, but the problem with this damage denying strategy is when you're playing against better players or players that are perfectly aware of what you're doing, they're probably not going to give you rear guards to swing at. So you're probably going to end up doing the first two ways more often in tournaments. But if your opponent does commit rear guards, perfect opportunity to swing at rear. You want to try to maybe kill the rear. Like sometimes you'll play against like a 4-stack, they'll have 10K grade 2s, and you're swinging with like a 9K grade 2, and you just can't kill them. So just boost and kill the rear guard, so at least you're taking a card out of your opponent's arsenal. But if you can't even do that, just swing at rear is perfectly fine. You're never going to be hitting the Vanguard if you're swinging at rear, and your opponent's never going to be getting damage. So yeah, simply put, the 3 ways that you can damage in that early game: you can not attack, you can attack under your opponent's Vanguard, or you can attack rear guard. Those 3 ways, guaranteed, your opponent doesn't get damaged. They don't pop off and do some crazy counterblast reliance strategy on you. That's it for this video. Super quick as usual. Easy tips to improve your Vanguard win rate. I'll see you guys next time. Peace. That's not a peace sign. I am stupid. Peace.